So the other day somebody asked me if I was bilingual, and I said yes. And they said, what do you speak? And I said, well, I speak English and I speak cowboy. And they said, cowboy? What the hell do you mean cowboy? And this is what I said. Away up high in the Sierra Peaks where the yeller pines grow tall, Sandy Bob and Buster Jiggs had a road deer camp last fall. Now they're taking their horses and running irons and maybe a dog or two and load they'd brand every long-eared calf that came into their view. Now any old doggy that flapped long ears and didn't brush up by day got his long ears whittled and his old hide scorched in a most artistic way. Then one fine day old Sandy Bob, he throwed his seagull down. I'm sick of the smell of burning hair, I allows I'm going to town. So they saddles up and hits out at a lope, for it weren't no sight of a ride, and those was the days when a buckaroo could ile up his inside. They started her off at the Kentucky bar at the head of Whiskey Row, and they ended up at the depot house some 40 drinks below. They then sits up and turns around and goes her the other way, and to tell you the godforsaken truth, them boys got stewed that day. Now as they was riding back to camp a-packing a pretty good load, who should they meet but the devil himself come prancing down the road. Says he, you ornery cowboy skunks, you better hunt your holes, for I've come up from hell's rimrock to gather in your souls. Says Sandy Bob, well devil be damned, we boys is kind and tight, and you ain't gonna have no cowboy souls without one hell of a fight. So Sandy Bob punched a hole in his seagull and he swung her straight and true. He lapped it around the devil's horns and he taken his dallies too. Now Buster Jiggs was a re-auto man with his gut line cold up neat, and he shaking her out and he built him a loop and he lassoed the devil's hind feet. They stretched him out and necked him down while the irons was getting hot. They cropped and swallered forked his ears and they branded him up a lot. They pruned him up with a horning saw, then knotted his tail for a joke. They then rid off and left him there, neck to a blackjack oak. So if you're ever up high in the Sierra Peaks and you hear one hell of a wail, you'll know it's just that devil a bellering about those knots tied in his tail. That is speaking cowboy.